Welcome back to the VTC C++ Programming Fundamentals video series. We're going to take a few minutes to talk about a little short history of C++, just a little bit of the background and where this language came from. C++ was created by Bjarne Stroustrup. I will admit that I have never heard his name said in any kind of a video series or anything, so I'm hoping that the pronunciation is correct of that. He's got some very interesting books and writings out there. One of them is the C++ Programming Language 3rd edition. Highly recommended by me anyway, that you pick that up. It is a large book, close to 1,000 pages. Excellent reference manual, a lot of good tutorials, a lot of good information in there. And some of this history comes from Bjarne's writings within that book. When C++ was created, some of the things that he wanted to make sure happened were, one, that the C language would still be supported. Much of the C++ language grows out of the C programming language from Kernighan and Ritchie. And if you did my C programming course, you have some history and background about that one and the C language book that I recommended for that course and where that language came from. But BCPL was another language that contributed a lot of ideas to C++. One of those is as simple as the / comment that you'll see. That / comment was in C for a while, was removed and then put back again in later iterations of the language, and now is permanently in C++, and we'll use it quite a bit as we comment our way through things. That's just one of the things that came from BCPL. The class constructions and the object-oriented programming ideas come from a language called Simula 67. When Stroustrup created C++, he had some projects of his own that he needed to perform, and he called it C with classes. He took the main C compiler of the day and started adding capabilities to it from these other languages and called it C with classes. The C++ name was put on the language by Rick Massidi in 1983. It is the post increment operator that we know from C. So this says that C is one better than, or is an incremental increase. C++ is an incremental increase over the C language. The language that we're going to learn about is not named D because it is not an entirely new language. It is C incremented, post-incremented. They also make reference to Orwell's 1984 and the language, the doublespeak language that is in the back of that. If you want to take a look at that appendix and see what they're saying there about adding modifiers to words. So there's a little bit of language history in there as well, literature. The nice thing about C++, or one of the nice things, that's something that has made it such an enormously popular language, is it is still low level enough, just like C, to be quite efficient and to be able to be written to be very efficient on the machine, on the hardware that compiler has been implemented for. But on the other hand, the language is still high level enough to be easy to code in, easy to read, and easy to understand as a beginning programmer. Now C++, just like C, does make a heavy use of additional libraries. There are not that many things built into the language itself. The language is very clean. It does come with some intrinsic math functions, basics like that any language needs, but it's very able to coexist with other languages, other compiler types. You're able to set up the way parameters are called pushed and popped on and off of the stack, the way calls are made if you need a C format or a C++ format. And we won't see a whole lot of that. That's really down deep in the language as we go through this, because this is C++ fundamentals, but just understand that it is able to do some of those things. C++ primarily adds the object-oriented programming paradigm, the way of thinking, totally new way of thinking about how to design an application and how to get it to do what you want and not do what you don't want, how to design out the bugs. Object-oriented programming, OOP, will in most cases help a good programmer to be better. It will give a good programmer better structures to work with and better ways to think about problems before the design is is developed or as the design is developed. OOP, though, will not help a bad programmer to be a good programmer. If you don't have any design skills and you just kind of hack away at things, OOP is not going to save you, and certainly not C++ is not going to, because it does not enforce classes and object-oriented programming. Because remember, it still supports C. So everything that you can do in C and any C programs that you had out there that don't use classes, don't use object-oriented programming or any of that, they will still compile and work just fine using a C++ compiler. So it doesn't force you to think this way, though it will assist you if you try to make the jump to the object-oriented paradigm. OOP will assist in the design of the program. We will be seeing that as we look at designing classes and operators, and we get to design our own new operators in classes, which will be pretty interesting, and how we get to define methods and what's a private method and a public method and a protected method and things like that when we look at our access portion of the class. So the OOP will be a great thing to know, and it helps you in any language, not just C++. It's really not necessary to fully understand and be a fluent C programmer before you jump into C++. There's even some bad habits you might have picked up in C that you don't want to take forward into C++. So if you already know C, that's great. If you want to know it as well for other things that you're doing, by all means, we have a great C programming video series over in the other part of VTC. By all means, go over there and take a look at it. But it is not necessary for you to be a C programmer to understand this course and to hopefully really understand and take away a lot of knowledge about C++. So that's our short history of C++. We're going to head on into our next video in the C++ programming fundamentals. Thanks for listening.